Yesterday, General Motors was in. They want to invest $60 billion. The people from Facebook were in yesterday. They're going to invest $60 billion by the end of the year. Other people are talking about numbers. Apple, as you know, a few days ago announced $500 billion investment. They're going to build their plants in the United States, which, as you know, almost all of their plants are in China. Now they're building in the United States. Look, the reason is two things. Number one, the election, November 5th, and the other thing is tariffs. I think probably in that order. But Tim Cook came in and he announced 500, think of it, 500 billion, not million. 500 million's a lot when you think about it, right? But I would have been happy with 500 million, but it's $500 billion investment by Apple in the United States. And that's because of the election result, and it's because of the tariffs and the tax incentives too, tariffs and tax incentives.
Back to CourageousMedia. Thanks so much for joining me here at the show. Really appreciate you rolling up. We got some good economic news today that I want to share with you, just so you can't get gaslit by the ridiculous propaganda media as they continually try to lie about Trump's economy, about America, about everything that's going on. We will always endeavor to bring you the truth, regardless of whether it's good or bad, good for Trump, bad for Trump, you name it. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Trump economy that is starting to take shape, despite the consistent court injunctions, the consistent lower district court, as some people have said, the inferior, black-robed inferior district court judges constantly trying to block the deportation of illegal aliens, which results in the reduction of crime. As lately now, they have also tried to block Trump's tariffs, which Trump has already said. I loved Lutnick when he was on TV, as he was talking about the Trump tariffs and how they've got lots of options in order to keep those tariffs going and actually reshape the entire global trade, which is what Trump has been trying to do since day one. So I got that economic news for you today. So we're going to dive into that. All right. I want you to check this out, because he talked about in that video clip, Trump talked about the fact that everybody is now wants to make, they want to make deals. They want to start building their products in the United States. And so with that, we have a new announcement. This is just hot off the presses for today. Here it is. Volkswagen, which as some of you may or may not know, Volkswagen is the parent company to Volkswagen. Porsche, I believe, falls under their umbrella. Mercedes-Benz falls under their umbrella. So Volkswagen is not just Volkswagen. It's a conglomerate. Like General Motors, they've bought up multiple brands. They have multiple brands across Europe. So Volkswagen, as you can see here, Volkswagen to make massive investment in the US to avoid tariffs. So the Trump tariffs, which all of these propaganda media types want to disparage, that the courts want to block, because why do they do that? Because obviously the tariffs are working. We've got 100+ nations coming to the table to make deals with the United States, bilateral trade deals to reduce tariffs to next to zero, because everybody will always pay the 10%, basically a seller's fee to get into the US market. But the tariffs are working. So why do all these people, the propaganda media and these ridiculous administrative courts, want to block Trump's tariffs? Why? Because they have a different agenda. They are serving a different master. Make no mistake. A vast number of people in the United States government, whether they are in the judiciary, whether they are in Congress, whether they are bureaucrats, and a similar number in state governments around the country, do not hold the best interests of the U.S. or the United States citizen in their minds. They serve a different master. They serve the globalist cabal of corruptocrats that want to destroy America, therefore destroying the West, and usher in a new age of aristocracy. We've talked about this a lot on this show. There are those elements, those nefarious elements, the Davos crowd, basically every European leader, sans a couple, Giorgia Meloni, the opposition leader in Romania, obviously the AfD party in Germany, that want to destroy what the West has built. They no longer want free societies. They want you governed by technocrats. They want facial recognition and CCTV at every single corner to be able to monitor everything you do. They want to be able to control your financial transactions. They want you to own nothing and like it and eat bugs, in the words of the failed leader of Davos, Klaus Schwab, who is now out. But despite that, Trump almost single-handedly is remaking the new world order. It is no longer the post-World War II liberal world order, globalist world order. Trump is remaking it into a civilizational nationalist world order where it's make America great again, make Canada great again, make Romania great again. You pick your country and go meet your obligations to your own people. But these groups do not want Trump to succeed. So hence all of their blocks on his tariffs, on his immigration policies, and so on. But despite that, Volkswagen realizes that these tariffs are here to stay. Trump just will figure out another way around them. But Volkswagen to make massive investment in the US to avoid tariffs. This is absolutely phenomenal. At the same time, we've got major economic indicators that are all pointing in the right direction. I've got a couple video clips for you to show you this. But first, let's look at despite all the fear mongering about inflation. Oh, tariffs are taxes that they're going to cause inflation. It's going to cause inflation. Despite the tariff inflation fear mongering, the Fed's favorite inflation indicator tumbles to a 4-year low. So when is Powell going to start lowering rates? I wouldn't hold my breath because Powell is another globalist. Powell is unfortunately infected with Trump derangement syndrome. Powell should be lowering rates already to further spur the US economy, to further spur growth. We've got two major things that need to happen now in the next 60 days or so to complete the building blocks for Trump's complete economic transformation. And that is the passage of not just the big, beautiful bill, because there's elements of the big, beautiful bill I'm not happy about. I don't think it cuts spending enough, but all of the tax cuts and deregulation that are in the big, beautiful bill, those need to get passed into law so that we do not have tax increases and so that the deregulation becomes entrenched. And the next thing that needs to happen is Powell needs to get off of his high horse and start to bring down interest rates, spurring further growth in the market, further access to capital, further growth in the US economy, but growth from the inside, not fake growth. So I love what's happening. I love what Trump is building with the economy, and he's already lowering inflation. We saw this previously with the consumer price index. So now we have another inflation indicator that is already lower. So despite the fear mongering on tariffs, inflation is better, prices are down, but now we get fantastic news on both personal income and trade deficit numbers. Again, both hinged, the trade deficit completely hinged on tariffs. The personal income numbers based on what Trump has already done with deregulation, with unleashing American energy, with the tariffs that have driven investment into the United States. Trump has already secured, depending on how you do the numbers, somewhere between $5 and $14 trillion of investment in the US. From SoftBank in Japan, from companies in South Korea, from the Gulf states on his recent swing through Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar, where they invested well over $2 trillion. He's got investments from Apple. He's got investments from pharmaceutical companies. You name it. The investments are pouring into the United States to avoid the tariff monster. Now, let's check this out. Because first, let's look at the trade deficit numbers that were released. This is fantastic news. So here's the trade deficit numbers. Lo and behold, they went down.
The last number is, of course, a very important number to this administration. This is the trade balance, which is a deficit, expecting minus 143 billion. Wow, it comes in much, much smaller, minus 87 billion. And now this follows a 163 that gets converted to 162 billion with a minus sign, the worst since record-keeping 1989. Then we cut it in half to 87.6. 87.6 would be the lightest, and I have to really go back. 87.6 would be the lightest since... wow, September of 23, SEP of 23. And this really does underscore how the movement of goods and services has really changed due to a variety of tariff-related issues. The last number.
So Trump is already cutting the trade deficit in half. The tariffs are working. Everything that the media has told you about the tariffs is absolutely a lie. Trump's tariffs are 100% working. I know there's a lot of people on the Republican side, on the conservative side, that would disagree with me. They don't like tariffs. They don't like the government getting involved in trade. I am not. I am a free trader to a point, and that is I want America first. I want America to succeed. The rest of the world can come along with us if they want, but I don't care about them. And I don't want to enrich other companies at the expense of Americans. I want to build things here in America. I want us to lead the world in manufacturing, in technology, in AI, in all of it, because all of this eventually becomes a national security issue. Eventually, you're going to need something that one of your enemies or adversaries has. And if you don't make it in America, they can control it. So I love what Trump is doing with deals for raw materials around the world. And I love what he's doing with bringing back manufacturing to America, starting with the national security specific industries, steel, pharmaceuticals, automotive. I love what he's doing. And so I want the tariffs to continue. In fact, I was not a big fan of him dropping the tariffs against China for the 90-day pause to let them negotiate a deal. I'm all for burying China. I don't want China to be the world's manufacturer. They're our adversary. We should be manufacturing stuff. And if there's stuff that we don't want to manufacture, cheap plastic and other things, which I still think we should make an element of it here, but outsource it to allies. Let's drive a trade deal with India. Let's drive trade deals in other places in Southeast Asia or Africa with allies, not people who are our primary adversary. So I love what Trump's doing with tariffs. I love the effect they're having on the economy because it is absolutely positive. Now, check out this number, which is even more indicative that the Trump economy is taking shape. And this number is way more important as well. Here we go.
Personal income is up 0.8%. That is almost triple the expectations, and it underscores we could talk about a lot of issues, but when you look at income for the first 4 months of the year, they're powerful numbers, Joe. Up 0.6 in January, up 0.7 in February, up 0.5% last month, up 0.8 this month. This is a great 4-month start to any year. Now, with the income shooting up, and by the way, 0.8 is the strongest income month-over-month jump since May of 21 when it was 1.9. Personal income.
So this is what Trump has been leading to the entire time. What he talked about in his campaign, he's talked about this for years. He has talked about giving the power and the success back to American workers. Making America wealthy again is not about making the top 0.1% another 10 or $100 million each. That's not what Trump is about. Trump is about the average everyday worker getting ahead, seeing their incomes go up, seeing their prices go down. And how do you do that? You deregulate, you drop taxes, you push tariffs to importers and force jobs and investment back into the United States. Amongst some of those investments that we talked about earlier were Taiwan Semiconductor building tens of thousands of square feet of manufacturing space in Arizona that will employ tens of thousands of people. Volkswagen will employ tens of thousands of people. All of those jobs are good paying jobs. I mean, are you going to get rich, working for Taiwan Semiconductor? Probably not. Not certainly not as an entry level job, but it's good, stable. You can feed, you can support your family. You can build a life, and that economic activity drives all sorts of other economic activity, and then you can get ahead. Then that rising tide now raises all ships. So again, why do these judges ask yourself the question, why does the media and the Dems and the judges suddenly hate tariffs? A, is because Trump's using them and they're all TDS morons. But the other is they serve different masters. But I want to play this clip to end. Lutnick was on the Ingram show and he was talking about the judge blocking the Trump tariffs. I talked about this on my show. It was either yesterday or the day before about Trump's got lots of other options. I think he should simply utilize the 1962 Trade Act and implement tariffs against each country individually. Don't make them blanket, although it was a lot easier to do it the other way, but just go right back to national security interest and start the tariffs all over again, do them individually so that no court can simply block them, en masse. They have to do it. They have to have a lawsuit on each one and blah, blah, blah. So let's check out Lutnick as he talks about making sure the tariffs stay in place.
The president's spoken about the national emergency that's led us to these giant trade deficits, right? I mean, he spoke about it on the campaign trail, and he wanted to use the sweeping powers of IEEPA. Now, he has many, many other laws and authority.
Now, for those of you who don't know, IEEPA is the Emergency Powers Act, International Emergency Powers Act. And it's what Trump was using. It was the statute he was using to impose all of the reciprocal tariffs to reduce the trade deficit, which he deemed a national emergency.
That he can use, and he'll take them out if he needs to. But right now, he likes the sweeping authority because it lets him deal with everybody who treats us unfairly, who doesn't treat us reciprocally. He can use IEEPA to do the whole world and sort of set America up correctly and protect America from the national emergency. But as you know, we're going to go through the courts, and you should always bet on Donald Trump, because what we've all seen is he does not lose.
I love it. So I love the fact that Lutnick is smiling through this whole thing, because frankly, if I had just been handed this ruling by, a clandestine, black-robed, inferior, not even a district court, an administrative court panel of judges, I'd have been really angry. But he's smiling because I think he knows that they know that this is merely a blip on the radar. They'll either fight this out and win it in court, or they'll simply restructure the tariffs under a different statute. And they know that going into court, all the Trump tariffs, the Senate had the opportunity to act. The Senate had the opportunity to block the tariffs, and they didn't do it. They didn't take it. They didn't even put it to a vote. So the Senate did not want to act. Therefore, a court does not have the right to now usurp both the Article 2 executive authority and the Article 1 legislative authority. So you're talking about a court now that is going to usurp both authorities? I don't think so. I don't think the Supreme Court is going to look kindly on that. And even if they flub it up, Trump can walk right back to the Trade Act of 1962, re-implement every single tariff individually, and say, okay, let's do this again. But I think either way, the tariffs are going to stay. They're going to continue to drive countries to the negotiating table, like the European Union, which has suddenly started talking to Trump constructively, and it will force more companies like Volkswagen, who want to sell their product in the United States, it will force them to build their plants here. And oh, by the way, those automotive tariffs, they're not effective. The 25% tariff on incoming automotives, because that is a national security industry deemed essential to national security. Those tariffs will stay. They're not being eliminated by this ridiculous trade court. No, no, no. And so Volkswagen's like, yeah, we know these aren't going anywhere. If we want to sell cars in the United States, we got to either make them in the United States, or everyone's going to pay 25% more. So I love it. I think it's fantastic economic news. I think it's a stick in the eye to those Trump deranged idiots who are trying to take down the Trump agenda, because frankly, they don't just hate Trump, they hate America. Thanks for rolling up. Really appreciate everybody being here. You guys are awesome. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know how we're doing in the comments. And most importantly, share Courageous Media with everybody that you know. Let's get this channel back up on top, back running. Let's get it up to 200,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. Really appreciate you rolling up. Until I catch you next time.